Hey guys, what's up, party people? Welcome to story time. I hope you guys will chime in on the comments again. I didn't get to respond to them in real time, but it was great fun reading them afterwards. Um, Today, okay, just a disclaimer. Since I don't have kids of my own, I'm a little thin on the ground for with storybooks. So we're going deep, deep into my collection now. But I'm going to be reading one of my favorite books from childhood, another Bob Shea bedtime book, and the first book we're going to read is a really great one because it's all about going outside, which is one of the awesome things that we can still do right now, and exploring the whole world outside, which is like this beautiful, wonderful world that maybe we don't have enough time to explore when things are normal. So now that things aren't so normal, we have more time to explore in our own backyards, right? So this book is called Under One Rock. There we go. And you can see, can guess what it's about. It's got lots of creepy crawlies and really interesting little bugs and things. And I'll teach you a little bit about the world that we can find just right outside of our doors. This book is by Anthony D. Fredericks, and it's illustrated by Jennifer DeRubio. And these illustrations are beautiful. Here is a field for insects to play in, and acres of shade for turtles to lay in, with wind-brushed trees for birds to nest in, and sun-splashed spaces for lizards to rest in. This is where, on this summer day, there lay a rock, all rough and gray. And here's our beautiful meadow. And there's our cool rock. This is the rock. Oh, look at that little butterfly in the corner. The rough gray rock was discovered by chance by a little boy in ragged pants, a curious lad who wondered aloud, what could be hiding in the rich red ground? He lifted the rock, all rough and gray, that he saw in the field on that summer's day, and there he found some varied creatures, a village of animals with special features. There he is, being nice and curious. Here we go. Okay. These are the earthworms, all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the rich red ground. Below the big rock, all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. Now, aerate is a big word, so I'll explain what that means really quickly. So basically, all that means is that you're bringing air into the soil, kind of like what it sounds like, right? So when an earthworm digs tunnels in the soil, it brings air underneath, which makes it easier for plants to grow roots and things like that. So they're really essential to having a healthy garden. This is the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to the earthworms, all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the red rich ground. Below the big rock, all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. Here are our earthworms and our tiny ants. Another spider. This is the spider with her eight-eyed face who builds a home in this cool, dark place. A home near the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to earthworms, all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the red rich ground. Below the big rock, all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. And there's, of course, I'm going to be honest, spiders normally scare me. But this spider looks pretty cool, and she's doing a good job. This is the beetle, all shiny and black, with grooves running down both sides of his back. A friend of the spider with her eight-eyed face. They live side by side in this cool, dark place. A home near the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to earthworms, all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the red, rich ground. Below the big rock, all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer day. This place is starting to get crowded and interesting. Some tiny field crickets who sing with their feet search near the rock for some seeds they can eat. They live with the beetle, all shiny and black, with grooves running down both sides of his back. A friend of the spider with an eight-eyed face. They live side by side in this cool, dark place. At home near the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to earthworms all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in a red rich ground, below the big rock all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. You could see our curious boy's fingers taking a look at the whole little world that's going on under this one rock. A sole millipede with a sensitive feel slips through the dirt in search of a meal. He plows by the crickets who sing with their feet and search near the rock for some seeds they can eat. They live with the beetle, all shiny and black, with grooves running down both sides of his back. He's a friend of the spider with her 8-eyed face. They live side by side in this cool, dark place, a home near the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to earthworms all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the red rich ground, below the big rock all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. Now there's that millipede. Really cool insect. They kind of look like aliens to me. They might be. These 6 tiny slugs, all covered with slime, creep over soil, eating most of the time. Past one millipede with a sensitive feel, who slips through the dirt in search of a meal, and plows past the crickets who sing with their feet, to search near the rock for some seeds they can eat. And they live with the beetle, all shiny and black, with grooves running down both sides of his back. He's a friend of the spider with her 8-eyed face. They live side by side in this cool, dark place, a home near the army of hundreds of ants who dig twisting tunnels and farm tiny plants. Neighbors to earthworms all squiggly and round, who aerate the soil in the red, rich ground, below the big rock, all rough and gray, that hides a whole crowd on a summer's day. And here's our slimy slugs, leaving trails of slime where'er they go. The creatures and critters live together as one, beneath the gray rock, away from the sun. A collection of neighbors, the large and the small, and the place where they live is home to them all. Wow, that was a fun exploration. And parents, this is a great book too, because here in the back, this is actually a whole series of books on ecology. On the back, they have all these cool, fun facts about all the insects we learned about in this book. Dope, right? So I hope you guys are all able to find nice adventures in your backyard. I know I've been looking for some myself. I might not be turning up any rocks anytime soon, but I will be gardening. So you need earthworms for that. Okay, the next book we're going to read is Cinderella. Yes, I know, a story that you are all very familiar with, no doubt. This one is a little bit different for a couple of reasons. I won't, spoiler alert, okay, so I won't tell you the spoiler. But I loved this as a little girl. I had a paperback copy that I wore so thin. I used to try to copy the drawings all the time. The illustrations to me are so beautiful, so I hope you enjoy them. This is Hilary Knight's adaptation of Cinderella. By the way, thanks, Mom, for buying me this book. Still love it. Hilary Knight's Cinderella. So you can see our stepsisters and Cinderella right there. There's our little fairy godmother. Also, there are cats, which always make a great book. It starts like all good fairy tales do. Once upon a time, long, long ago, there lived a merchant, his beloved wife, and their beautiful little daughter. They were blessed with health, happiness, and all the good things of life. Their cozy house was in a lovely valley, surrounded by friendly neighbors, and on a hilltop overlooking the valley stood the palace of the king and queen and their young son, the prince. But fate brought a sudden end to the merchant's blissful life. One day his wife became ill, and within a week, she died. Here's a beautiful family picture. Little tiny Cinderella and her dad and their beautiful mom. And then way in the background, you can see the castle, right? The merchant and his daughter were grief-stricken. But after several years, the merchant began to search with someone for the same qualities as his late wife. At last, he thought he had found her. She was a widow with 2 young daughters of her own. He married her and brought his new family home with him. His daughter welcomed them happily. Well, unfortunately, we know where this is going. There's Cinderella in the doorway, and you can see her new stepmom, dad, and those 2 little stepsisters. There they are. They've brought birds with them. But within a few months, fate struck once more. The merchant was lost at sea on one of his ships. Soon the merchant's daughter discovered the true nature of her mother and sisters. They were jealous of her beauty and kindness and forced her to be little more than a servant in her own home. They dressed her in rags and made her sleep in the attic room on a bed of straw. And they were always ordering her about. "Fix the tea, wash the dishes, sweep the ashes," they would scold, because the poor girl spent her few free hours huddled by the kitchen hearth among the ashes and cinders. They called her Cinderella. See, you can see that there's a stepmother in the reflection over there. You see little Cinderella at the hearth. Our stepsister's ordering them about and disrupting that poor cat. It kind of looks like my cat, except my cat's orange. It makes that face a lot. One day, sometime later, a messenger from the king brought an invitation to a royal ball. All the eligible young ladies in the land had been asked to attend, for the prince was looking for a bride. Cinderella's wicked sisters immediately began arguing about what they would wear. Poor Cinderella had nothing but rags. Without a gown, she could not even think of going to the ball. This is my absolutely favorite illustration in this book. I think you can get the stepsisters' personalities very clear right there. Selfish. On the day of the ball, Cinderella helped her sisters get dressed. They did nothing but fuss and fret the whole time. And when they were ready, they flounced off without even saying goodbye. Here's sweet Cinderella helping them get ready. Ugh, rude. And then these are also some funny. Oh gosh, I'm trying to help you see this. Can you see that? There we go. Look at that one. All alone, Cinderella sat down by the hearth. "How I wish I could go to the ball," she cried. Suddenly, into the kitchen flew a most extraordinary person. "Who are you?" asked Cinderella, drying her eyes. "I'm your fairy godmother, and because you are so kind and good, you shall go to the ball tonight." "But godmother," said Cinderella, "my sisters have taken the carriage, and these rags I'm wearing are my only clothes." "No bother," said the fairy. "We will find everything we need right here in the garden. Bring me a pumpkin, 1 fat rat, 2 mice, and 4 lizards." There she is. Look at that cute little fairy godmother. I don't know why I've made her sound like the queen, but here we are. Cinderella watched with amazement as her fairy godmother began to chant, giving each of the things she had asked for a tap with her magic wand. "A plump orange pumpkin, I've been told, will make a fine carriage of crystal and gold. Little mice, very nice, there'll be 2 footmen in a trice. Here, old rat, the playful pet, now you're a coachman, jolly and fat. Lizards will complete our needs, they'll become 4 stamping steeds." And here you can see some of the transformations. There's our fairy godmother having a grand old time transforming everybody. I think that coachman does still look a little bit like a fat old rat. Here are our lizard horses. "Now, Cinderella," ordered the fairy, "fetch me the following: guinea fowl feathers and bottles of blue, moth wings and cobwebs sprinkled with dew. I'll mix them with berries and sassafras and dress you in gossamer with slippers." "There," cried the fairy triumphantly, "you're ready for the royal ball." Look how beautiful she looks and how happy. How much fun this is all for her. With a cry of joy, Cinderella sprang into her carriage. "Beware, Cinderella," called her fairy godmother. "You must leave the ball by midnight or the spell will vanish. The carriage and horses, the footman, your gown, everything will disappear when the clock strikes 12. "I will remember," called Cinderella, waving goodbye. There she is on her way to the castle. Beautiful. Okay, everyone, this is my favorite part. I just want y'all to check out this prince for a second. Right? Totally non-traditional. Girls, go for the nice guy. From the moment Cinderella entered the ballroom, the prince would dance with no other partner. Her wicked sister did not even recognize her. Everyone wondered who this beautiful stranger could be. While the orchestra played waltz after waltz, Cinderella danced everyone with the prince. She was so happy she did not think about the time. When at last the clock began to strike the hour of midnight, Cinderella scarcely heard it. And you can see the ball here again, all these curious onlookers, and here, next to that weird old man, are the stepsisters. You can see them in the corner there. Boop. Suddenly, Cinderella recalled her fairy godmother's warning. She ran out of the ballroom and flew down the stairs. The prince tried to follow her, but he only found her tiny glass slipper, which had fallen from her foot. At the last stroke of midnight, the spell vanished. Cinderella's gossamer gown disappeared. When she looked for her carriage, there was only a shattered pumpkin shell. All that was left of the fairy's magic was the other glass slipper. Cinderella put it in the pocket of her shabby apron, and she ran all the way home. So you can see in the background the prince finding her slipper, all of the trappings of Cinderella's magical night. When Cinderella's sisters returned from the ball, they taunted her with stories of the grand time they'd had. They told her about the mysterious stranger and how the prince had sworn to make her his princess. "She vanished at midnight," said one sister, "leaving only a tiny glass slipper. The prince will search the whole countryside for its owner," said the other, "and she shall be his bride." So you can see the stepsisters recounting their adventures, and sweet Cinderella just indulgently listening. She knows the truth. The prince himself led the search for the owner of the glass slipper. Although every young lady in the land tried it on, not one could slip her foot into the tiny shoe. These pictures are great. Finally, the prince came to Cinderella's house. The first sister tried on the slipper, but it was much too small. The second sister pushed and pulled at the shoe, but try as she might, she could not get the slipper on. So you can see the prince's hilarious adventures here. Especially that one makes me laugh. And then this household of all these daughters next to it. The prince sadly turned to leave. Then he heard a familiar voice coming from the kitchen. "Let me try," said Cinderella. Her stepmother and stepsisters were horrified when she drew the other slipper from her pocket. The prince fell to his knees before Cinderella as she easily slipped her foot into the glass shoe. "My princess!" he cried, and he threw his arms around her. Look how sweet he is, just the sweetest. Cinderella married the prince and went to live in the palace. Of course, she forgave her stepmother and sisters and asked them to live with her. From then on, they treated her kindly. As for Cinderella's fairy godmother, she watched over them constantly, and they all lived happily ever after. I like that ending a lot. Isn't it beautiful? The end. Great story, great fairy tale, great pictures, beautiful, beautiful illustrations that make me smile. All right, we've got one last one. It's a short one. And this is one of those great fun bedtime stories that make bedtime fun and funny and an exciting place to be. This is again by my buddy Bob Shea, who wrote Dinosaur vs. Bedtime. Take the little jacket off there. It's called Race You to Bed. Let's race to bed. Ready, set, go to bed! And you see he autographed this one for me too. Gosh, I forgot. He's such a nice dude. Up to bed, down to bed. All around a goat to bed. Why? Clang to bed, bang to bed, bring to bed. Sneeze to bed, whoo! Grilled cheese to bed, yum. Angry bees to bed, whoo! But as I say, and as I said, I'll zip ahead in this race to bed because I'm gonna beat you to bed. He's going on quite a bedtime adventure. Look, hey, it's Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted, I'm racing to bed. Paddle to bed with a duck on my head. Look at Uncle Ted. Oh no, over the edge to bed. Splish to bed, splash to bed, scratch an itchy rash to bed. Straight to bed, not late to bed. Stop at the drop of a hat to bed. This is a funny illustration. The amazing hat drop is not a trick. I'll pick up the pace in this race to bed. On a car, on a bus, on a train to bed. Jet to bed, you get to bed. Don't be fooled or be misled. I'm gonna beat you to bed. A snack to bed and a drink to bed, a bath, a brush, and a book to bed. Looks like I beat you to bed. Oh, you're already in bed? You were way up ahead. Okay then, race you to sleep. Good night. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed story time today. Of course, Kevin found out I was doing this and he really wanted to come and say hello. He's been misbehaving a little bit lately. I think he's going a little stir crazy. So I said, of course, he could come out. So here he is. There he is. Hey, Kevin. You doing okay today? Did you want to say goodbye to everybody? Did you want to? Okay, go ahead. You can. Kevin! What do we talk about? No biting. I know. It's all right. It's hard. Okay, give a hug goodbye. Bye! Bye, you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.